Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the YouTube audiobook series for The Forbidden Truth, written by Abby Matthias. I am Abby Davis, and today I will be introducing Chapter 10. If you missed Chapter 9 or want to go back to the playlist, links are in the description below. But if you are all caught up and ready to go, we will continue on with Chapter 10, Familiar Face.
After that night, the days kind of flew by fast. Abby's family Thanksgiving party was much more delightful than Damien's was, according to her. There was no family drama or demon drama. I was actually able to attend even though no one could see me but her. But besides that, I was able to meet her entire family and see each connection she had with each member of it. Of course, she was accompanied by her boyfriends so they could announce themselves as a couple, but nothing extravagant happened with it. Her family asked some questions and congratulated her on her catch. Yet, everything else was fine. Eventually, while everyone was eating at the table, I went into the kitchen to eat some food. I figured that way I could appease my appetite and not freak anyone out. So Thanksgiving Day wasn't a disaster. Despite that, we made it through the holidays without any more drastic events. Christmas came up quickly, and Abby spent it both with the Haynes family and her own. However, the most shocking thing that happened was that she bought me a gift for the holiday. I told her she absolutely didn't have to, but she insisted upon doing so. I couldn't see any gift that she could give me to be useful. I would only be able to use it within the human world. But I was proven wrong when I ended up opening the gift. It was a pocket watch that almost matched the color and texture of my shirt. Only the texture appeared as a black color instead of the normal red. It was kept closed by a button clasp, and the button to open it was located on the top. Once I pressed it, it revealed black Roman numerals against a red background that matched the same color theme of the entire gift. I was extremely baffled upon examining it that I couldn't help but lift my head to meet her gaze. Abby, it's wonderful, but you most certainly didn't need to get me this.
Well, it's the least I can do to show my appreciation. Plus, now you never have to ask me what time it is again. You'll always have time on you whether you are up here or down there.
Upon that statement, I realized she had a good point. There was no way I could keep track of human time while I was down in hell. Plus, upon a brief reflection, I remembered all the times I have asked her for the time. So finally, I embraced the gift and placed it in my pocket where it now stays. Besides the touching moments with her family and loved ones, I obviously tagged along with her to make her feel better. I most certainly didn't have to stay with her. I had the ability to free roam, but she started wanting me by her side more often. Even though she was finally feeling comfortable with me, the holidays still felt a little lonesome for me. Before Abby came along, I kind of forgot about them because I no longer had a need to celebrate them. Not to mention the fact that it was forbidden to celebrate Christmas because of the whole Christ aspect. It would burn probably 3/4 of the citizens, or maybe half. Yet, I didn't think about the possibility of celebrating them again with a different person. So as you can imagine, I thought about my wife and son during this time of year. Nala would always plan and make lists of gifts she needed to get and coordinate with both sides of our families on when to meet up and such. She took the holiday seriously, yet I never saw her so happy to be around family. She practically glowed every day during the month of November and December with excitement and joy. Yes, the family holiday parties were fun and all, but nothing compared to watching my son on Christmas Day. He would always rush into our room and bounce on the bed to wake us up. All because he was eager to open up his presents from Santa and his parents. From there, Nala and I would get up and march to the living room as he started separating the gifts. I would give anything to see his smiley face again, regardless of how old he is. Yet it's 13 years past, and there was nothing I could do about it now. To get on a lighter subject, eventually we entered into the new year. It was officially 2022, and Abby was on winter break from her college. She filled her time with cosplaying as me and other characters while also doing some side animations to entertain herself. Yet on January 16th, it was a day where her and I were doing absolutely nothing again. We were sitting in her room, just hanging out, and I figured there was another opportunity for us to hang out for another bonding session. "Hey, you up to go out today?" I asked curiously out of the blue. She stared at me a little shocked at first, but eventually said,
I mean, yeah, but Damien is hanging out with his mom, and I don't really have anywhere to go.
"That doesn't mean you don't have someone to hang out with."
Well, I can't hang out with Scarlet. We are still not on good terms.
At that moment, I stared at her sarcastically as I was trying to hide my frustration a little. I didn't understand how she couldn't figure out what I was trying to ask, yet I figured I would show her to make everything connect in her brain. So I quickly changed myself into my female form of Darla before I spoke again. "You can hang out with me, your other friend."
First of all, I keep forgetting you have shape-shifting. And second, I thought you didn't want to pretend to be Darla anymore because of what Scarlet did.
"I never said I would stop doing this for you and Damien. I will not subject myself to that," and I paused quickly, stopping myself. I realized if I would have said what I wanted to call her friend, she might not want to hang out and grow pissed at me. So I swallowed my words and thought of different ones to say. "I will not become Darla for that entitled person. Another thing, you know who I actually am, and know damn well not to treat me like that."
Well, you're not wrong. So if you want to go out, where do you want to go?
"Well, where do you want to go? It's your money we have to spend."
If you're thinking like that, then lunch is a must. I'll think of something else to do while we're out.
Then, we both got dressed in separate rooms and were on our way once more to the big city. As we ventured this time around, there was a better tone set in our environment. There was absolutely no tension between Abby and I, which was kind of a strange feeling. When the first outing like this happened the first time, I remembered sitting in the passenger seat of her car trying to understand her constant hesitation and fear towards me. Regardless of my actions, my appearance misled her brain into thinking I was sent to throw her off her path of goodness. To her, a ferociously large Satan spawn had presented itself with no possible way of getting rid of it. Not even a pastor or church could get rid of me. Anything involving religion or godly words didn't send me into agonizing pain like it would for other demons. She most certainly didn't need an exorcist, for I didn't possess her body. All the time, that is. But still, I never possessed her vessel for my own benefit. So in order to correct her understanding of me and my personality, I knew I had to spend time with her to explain and express myself. And here we are again. Except this time we had a stronger bond. She was okay with my appearance and fully confided in me. At least most of the time. Like any other person in this world, there were times Abby really didn't want to talk about her problems or stress. I couldn't really say anything to her about it because I would just be a hypocrite. Even I stay silent about my problems. That was mostly because my situations were always unsolvable or complex. Another reason why I kept a lot of things to myself was for Abby's sanity and mental health. My unfortunate circumstances were difficult compared to what she is used to. It was actually far beyond from being ordinary. But she would still count those instances against me. After being with her for almost 8 months now, I could fully tell when something was wrong with her. As for today, she wasn't upset. She was fairly happy and actually smiling as she drove. As a matter of fact, she even treated me with some of her own singing. That's how I could really tell she was having a good time. Eventually, though, we ended up at the Golden Rose again and sat in a booth located in a nearby corner. Our waitress was quick to take our drink orders and was extra cheerful to probably get more tips. So when she was away again, I decided to look at the menu to order something different this time around. I could tell by Abby's state that she was surprised I even picked up the menu to gaze at it more. Yet she didn't give me any crap for it. So I allowed my eyes to read the different meals until I found a burger I wanted to try. Once that was done, I placed the menu on the table and Abby immediately started a conversation.
So what are you getting this time?
I'm gonna try the Tasmanian Devil Burger. Sounds like it's right up my alley, as long as you're okay with that.
Darla, I don't care what you get. Once again, it's your choice.
Yeah, but it's your money we have to use. I don't want to drain your bank account or be expensive.
Well, it's a little too late for that. I already bought you clothing and food on multiple occasions.
She said, chuckling.
I haven't encountered a money issue yet since you came around. I don't really expect there to be one anytime within our partnership. But that does lead me to a question.
Go ahead, lay it on me.
So, if you lived in hell for 13 years, did you make a living on being the deal maker?
Well, of course I did.
Really?
She asked, shockingly.
How much money did you make?
Upon the question, I tried to answer as fluent as possible. However, I got thrown off as I truly thought about my response. I didn't get paid in currency. Hell, I don't even know if I got paid at all for what I did. Yet I had to answer Abby truthfully even though she would ask more questions. Good question. I can't answer that.
What do you mean? You must have made some sort of money in order to buy food.
But I never had to. My fridge is always full. Don't ask me how, but it is. I guess I never really questioned it until now. As we both sat perplexed, I didn't bother to reflect upon the situation too much. It would only make me upset reflecting upon that part of my life. So instead, I asked a question to switch the conversation. So, have you lived in Wisconsin all your life?
Yes, I didn't live in the same house as I live in now, but I have always stayed in the state.
Well, do you like it?
Well, of course I do. If I didn't, I would have left by now. I also love my family too much to leave them.
Upon that statement, I wish I could have said the same about staying with mine. I missed them every single day, and I still think about them constantly. However, with Abby, my sadness somewhat withered because of our bond. Yet I still was remorseful of what I did to my family. Before I could think any more, Abby quickly blabbered an apology.
Oh, Jesus. I am so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you with that. I was just saying the truth and I forgot about your deal. I'm so sorry.
Abby, it's fine, I said, a little depressed. I'm just glad you told me the truth. I could tell you like your family dearly. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay.
But it's not okay. You don't have the luxury to be with your family because of what happened. I shouldn't have brought that up.
Upon her statement, I immediately grabbed her hand to gain her attention and spoke. Don't be sorry. You were having a nice conversation with me. Don't let this ruin it. Also, you're wrong about the family thing. I at least am able to call you part of my family now. That's all that matters. From that, she smiled widely and thanked me for the compliment. As if it were timed perfectly, the waitress brought our drinks and took our orders. My protected child once again got the same pasta dish, and I told the waitress my new order. We politely thanked her after everything was ordered, and she left again like she was enjoying her job. Yet that was probably all of facade. Regardless, once we were alone again, my partner in crime spoke out.
First of all, wow. Didn't think you would actually order something different. And second, can I ask a serious question about your past life?
Well, I wanted to change things up, seeming how I have only gotten steak at this restaurant. And lastly, of course you can. What's on your mind?
I know it isn't the best topic, but how old were you when you made the deal with Satan?
As the question filled my ears, I felt my expression shift a bit to remorse. However, I didn't allow that to stop me from answering. I was 35 years old. Why was that on your mind?
Because you look so young in your demon form. I mean, I know that they say in church that when you die you will be given your most youthful appearance, but does that apply to you as well? Did you stop aging because you died?
As much as I don't want to say it, but I'm afraid so. You can't age if your life has come to an end. As I answered the question, I gazed at Abby to see her growing curiosity bloom within her eyes. To be honest, I never seen that kind of twinkle in her eye before, yet it made me grow intrigued. So I interrupted her thought process again. What else is on your mind? She shook her head in slight panic and shock while she replied rapidly.
What makes you think something else is on my mind?
I can see the spark of curiosity in your eyes that I haven't seen before. I know it sounds crazy, but something within your gaze is telling me you have another question to ask.
Okay, fine. I do have something to ask.
She said with a sigh.
I'm not sure where you stand with religion, but what are your views on it? Do you believe in a certain religion?
Well, it's kind of useless at this point, don't you think? I stated, gesturing to myself.
I mean, I don't think so. But regardless of the circumstances, did you believe? And please don't sugarcoat. I promise I won't care if you don't. Damien doesn't fully believe, and I'm still dating him.
As she said that, I didn't really know how to react. I mean, I felt a little better knowing I wouldn't be the first person telling her a different standpoint on religion. However, I was still nervous to say anything. I wasn't the kind of person to talk about this sort of topic. It only causes trouble, and as a doctor, I was always taught to believe the science behind things, not some mythical higher being ruling over the earth. Despite what I've been told in my reflecting, I answered truthfully. To be honest, I wasn't a firm believer in it. I mean, I had patients all the time thanking me with blessings and such, yet I didn't know what to believe. Science and physical proof brought more truth than anything. Even though my mother practically dragged me to church, I didn't know if I could believe in something that was millions and billions years old. I've always been that way.
Even after you became a demon?
She asked. I shifted my facial expression to a hypocritical look, as I thought she was upset about my answer. However, she must have sensed the growing tension, for within a couple seconds, she quickly spoke again.
I'm not judging. I'm just curious about your views as of now, seeming how you have physical evidence that there is a place called hell. It's one thing to believe it, but it's another thing to see it.
Well, I can't say I had a change of heart when it comes to religion. Again, I was tricked out of life and became Satan's property. How do I know if there are other types of beings or gods? Abby paused for a moment thinking about my question, yet she never fully replied with words. She just waved her hand back and forth as she semi-understood my logic.
Abby, Darla!
A random voice cried. My head began to swivel around to find the person who called out our names. I knew Abby could be recognized at any point as she knew various people. However, only 3 people knew who I was within this female form, and one of them was my protector child. Yet again, the voice was low and soothing as it cheerfully stated our names. So in conclusion, it could only be one person. And as I finally landed my sight on the moving target, I recognized the man as Damien. He was walking alongside an older woman who appeared to be in her mid-40s. She had long black hair that fell in slight waves while her eyes shined with brown. She had a wide smile upon her face as they both walked over to our table and started interacting with Abby.
What a coincidence meeting you two here.
Oh my gosh, Damien! I didn't know you and your mother were coming here for lunch.
Upon her greeting, Abby stood up and gave Damien a quick kiss before the woman spoke.
Hello, Abby. It's good to see you again.
And she held her arms out for a hug. Once again, Abby hurried to her and embraced the lady for a few seconds, greeting her as well.
It's good to see you again too, Miss Haynes. How have you been doing? I've been doing well. Working like usual. Nothing too new here. Well, I'm glad you've been doing well. I hope your day is going well too. It most certainly is. Thank you for asking.
As they began to chit-chat for a minute, I couldn't help but stare at Damien's mother, supposedly. She looked extremely familiar, yet I couldn't put my finger on it. The strong feeling of deja vu filled my senses again from just staring at this woman, and my head was reeling. This person was so familiar to me that my mind was consumed by thoughts. It wanted to know why this woman looked so recognizable. I never saw her in my life, unless for some reason she was from one of my weird dreams. And from that brief thought, I came to the realization. I have seen this female within a nightmare. That strange second man I've been trying to save from Satan's deal presented this woman to me as his wife. How could she be real? Wasn't she supposed to be a fictional character that lived within my subconsciousness? A made-up person that was somehow created from my mind? Yet here she was standing in the flesh with her 20-year-old son. Yet before I could reflect more upon the woman, Abby turned herself to me and brought me into the conversation.
I'm sorry, Darla. I didn't mean to leave you out. Damien, I know you obviously know her. But, Miss Haynes, this is my best friend, Darla. Hi there.
I said while my voice fully displayed the female one. I also gave her a gentle wave to be somewhat welcoming as I was caught off guard. She smiled back and waved as well. However, we were still strangers to one another. We both had that awkward greeting because we knew nothing about each other. Yet, she would never know the truth about who I am. Regardless, something within me wanted to know the significance of this woman. Because of my nightmare, my perspective has changed as my brain was spiraling with questions. Miss Haynes was someone important to me now, but I didn't know in what way. In spite my uncertainty, Damien quickly interrupted my thoughts and gained my attention.
Darla, it's so good to see you again. We haven't spoken since that fiasco at the Halloween party. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Besides that thing with Scarlet, I have just been hanging out with Abby and focusing myself upon my schoolwork.
I said, knowing it was a half-truth.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to recover from that incident. We should totally hang out again sometime soon.
Damien, if you all want to hang out today, that is fine with me. We can hang out on a different day.
But Mom, we had this planned for a little bit now. I don't just want to abandon you.
Well, how about we have the best of both worlds?
I said, quickly thinking of a solution.
How about after our lunches, we all head somewhere together? That way we can still have one-on-one time and hang out afterwards.
Upon that statement, Abby immediately turned to me and started questioning my decision.
Are you sure, Darla? I don't want to force you into something you don't want to do.
I insisted. Of course, if everyone including Miss Haynes is okay with that.
Damien's mother then started to rub her neck a bit in nervousness as she spoke her worry.
Well, I don't want to intrude on your friend meetup if you guys do go out. I can just go home.
It would be a pleasure to have you come with us. There's nothing wrong with you hanging out with us. Plus, you look like you need to have a little bit of fun. What do you all say?
Then, within a matter of seconds, all three of the humans nodded and agreed to the hangout. So they discussed on where exactly they wanted to go, and we all decided to venture to the arcade after lunch. It was close and easy to get to, while it also catered to everyone. As we all established a plan, we said our goodbyes for the time being, and the Haynes family walked back to their table again. While everything started to reset itself and became normal again, Abby quickly sat down and started asking questions.
Why were you so animate about going out with those two? I thought this was supposed to be a day to ourselves.
I know, but I figured you wanted to hang out with Damien again if you had the chance. I saw the opportunity, and I opened it for you. With my response, she didn't necessarily buy it at first. She gave me that smoldering look of disappointment indicating that she didn't believe me. However, I kept my ground and continued to stare at her. Part of that was true. I thought it would be nice for all of them to hang out again. However, I truly wanted to get to know Miss Haynes. Maybe something of her past or personality would help me figure out why she was so important. Yet, I still had to wait until after lunch to find out more. So as I kept my eye on hers, she finally gave in defeatedly and said,
All right, I believe you. Well, thanks for doing that. You most certainly didn't have to. Now you have to stay in this female form for longer.
It really doesn't matter, Abby, I said, swiping my hand in the air. I am in more comfortable clothes to begin with, and I don't use this form very much. I think I can last a few hours. Upon my statement, she smiled and chuckled briefly. After that, we continued on with our lunch in private as I waited for the time to go by. Eventually, everyone was done with their meals and we drove to the large strip mall again where Reggie's axe throwing was. To be honest, the Mega Bega arcade was only a few stores down from it, so I kind of knew where we were. However, upon entering the new establishment, I instantly became overwhelmed. The entire place was huge, and obtained various kinds of arcade games. However, every game has advanced since I was alive. Everything was newer and modernized to the more youthful generations. I didn't know how to play any of these games or how any of them worked. Yet, Abby was right there talking within my head to guide me.
I know this may look intimidating, but I promise it isn't as bad as you think. We first have to get cards so we can play the machines. Everything will pretty much click as you watch. Plus, you're super smart. It won't take you long to learn.
Taking those words to heart, I took a deep breath and followed everyone to get situated. In case anyone doesn't know, I learned that the arcades nowadays use swiping cards as their ticket system. So a person pays a certain amount of money to get credits. Those credits are then used to play the various games that the player desires. Whichever game is played, they are able to gain tickets for how well they did, and that is also tracked by card. I guess it made things easier instead of having to count tickets or use arcade coins. Which I could see how it was more convenient. So, we got 2 cards for us to share instead of getting 4 individual ones. Even though the technology has advanced, I still felt like I was with a 5-year-old kid. Abby was so excited to get our cards, but most importantly, I realized how much she loved the arcade. For only a few seconds after we obtained our credits, she ran off into the arcade and we watched her lose her cool. However, before Damien followed, he talked to us a final time.
I guess she's excited. I'll go see where she went. You two okay to hang out?
Of course.
I stated.
I have no problem. It will be fun getting to know your other friend.
Okay. I'll call or find you guys in a little while. Now I have to find my girlfriend.
And he walked off in the same direction Abby ran. As Miss Haynes and I stood in our places for a moment, I knew it was only polite to ask what she wanted to do instead of running off like my protector child did.
So, is there a game in particular you would like to play?
After my question, she turned her head slightly to make eye contact and said,
Well, don't you want to run off and lead me? I most certainly wasn't expecting to be in an arcade today.
A slight chuckle escaped her mouth as a smile crawled onto her face.
No, I won't drag you around. We can let the lovebirds be for the time being, and we can hang out. I seriously don't mind. Plus, I'm not picky. So, what would you like to do?
She then placed her delicate finger upon her lips and tapped it. It was insinuating that she was thinking, but she already knew what she wanted to do. Regardless, I still waited for her answer.
How about some air hockey?
As she said that, my whole face lit up with excitement.
Absolutely.
I exclaimed. With that agreement, we walked, and I was led to the air hockey table. The large rectangular table was empty, as the 2 paddles and hockey puck were laid on top of it. The main base color of the table part was white, while the lines were bright orange. As for the body that held the machinery to make the table work, it was orange. As I stepped to the side of the table to look at it closer, I saw it had a digital scoreboard upon the edge. It was currently turned off, however, it turned on instantly when Miss Haynes swiped the card. It clearly read 0-0 in red, and the error started to lift the puck off the table. Looking back up, Miss Haynes took hold of a hockey handle and slid the other one to me.
How about we make this a little fun?
My eyes widened upon her statement, and my mind couldn't help but reflect. Those words were usually intended to twist things up from their originality, yet I wasn't expecting her to be so open about altering things. Despite that, I raised my eyebrows, indicating my interest.
Whoever lands the puck in the goal, they get to ask a question about the other. That way we can get to know each other while having fun. Sound fair?
Alright, game on.
I stated with determination. I used to play this game a lot with my wife when I was alive. Believe it or not, we did actually own a table for a while after we got married. Whenever we wanted to relax and stay in, we would play for fun. So I had nothing to worry about. I took my position at the opposite side of the table while Miss Haynes grabbed the puck. We made eye contact initially to show we were ready, and the first round was on their way. The puck flew to the left, bouncing against the side, and I returned it back with a good smack. However, that left my goal open to where she drove the puck into it, making the buzzer sound. That was such a rookie mistake, and I wanted to smack my forehead. Yet, I didn't want to show my unexplainable frustration. I guess that's what I get for talking big game within my head. Upon her victory, she smiled and laughed, enjoying the moment. It actually made me more cheerful as I saw her expression, and I didn't understand why. Maybe it was because of some sort of happy effect that she had on people. Regardless, after her little pause, she asked her first question.
How did you meet my son?
Through Abby. I tagged along with her for one of her friend meetups last year. It was a little unexpected, but he was very welcoming and kind. He made a very good first impression.
Well, I'm glad he did. Ready for another round?
Nodding my head, I readied myself as I placed the puck back on the table. Aiming straight ahead, I slammed the puck with the paddle, and our next round started. This time, however, it lasted a bit as we kept smacking it back and forth. The sound of the puck clashing filled the air while I heavily focused on my task. I really wanted to ask her a question. I couldn't believe she set this up perfectly for me to gain information from her. It was almost like she read my mind back at the restaurant. So finally, breaking the streak back and forth, I slammed the puck to the side and made a zigzag into her goal before she could react. The buzzer sounded once more, and an overwhelming feeling of curiosity washed over me. It was my turn to ask a question, but I didn't know what. I also had to think on the fly so I wouldn't look suspicious or weird. I mean, the logical way to go about this was to start with easier questions and advance them accordingly. So as I briefly reflected, I finally asked my first question.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a web designer. I create and oversee all of the visual aspects of websites.
So, like graphic design except for websites?
I said, forgetting that was another question. I quickly covered my mouth as I realized my error. However, I think Miss Haynes had sympathy and still answered it.
Yeah, like graphic design for websites. We'll go with that.
As she finished, she bent down to grab the puck out of the goal again while I readied myself once more. While I patiently waited, I started to think of more questions for her. I wanted to be prepared for the next time I won. As I pondered, I had a few quick questions pop into my head. Despite that, I suddenly lost concentration on the game as my opponent took advantage of it. I heard the loud buzzer sound again, and I was shocked back to reality. As my eyes regained their focus, they saw Miss Haynes leaning on the table with a smirk on her face. I wasn't at all mad by her actions. If anything, I wanted to laugh as well. Yet, all I found myself saying was,
Well played. Sorry for zoning out for a moment.
It's most certainly okay, Darla. I do tend to have those moments as well. But that mainly happens when I'm in solitude.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. Except mine gets way worse when I'm alone.
I said, not really thinking before I spewed out my feelings. She immediately grew confused by the statement and asked her question that correlated to the topic.
What do you mean by worse? I think I need a little more elaboration in order to understand properly.
Well,
I said hesitantly.
I tend to reflect upon my life probably more than the average person. I sadly hurt the closest people I had in my life because of my actions. I'm haunted by my wrongdoings, and if I am by myself long enough, everything creeps back and drags me down into a sea of despair. The session I just had was coming up with questions to ask you.
Finishing my little rant, her expression had really changed to a somewhat sympathetic look, while also showing a little bit of shock. She stayed silent for a moment, trying to figure out what to say. However, she eventually broke the silence.
Wow. I'm so sorry that you have to go through that. Yet, I somewhat get how you feel too. So please, just know that you are not alone.
Well, thank you, Miss Haynes. That really does mean a lot.
I said, trying to be polite. I knew she meant well with every word she said. The only problem was that she could never feel the same amount of pain that I do. She wasn't tricked into signing her life away to try and cure her son. Instead, she got some lowlife of a husband who who wasn't in the picture. Or at least I think she did. Abby's story about her husband wasn't quite clear, yet she didn't know a whole lot about the situation either. Regardless, I still believed that she had bad days because of the whole husband situation. After about a minute of silence, Miss Haynes broke it and decided to change things up once more.
Hey, how about we just play this and then talk at other arcade games? Would you like that?
You know what? I would like that.
And we both readied ourselves once more. After about 10 minutes, we finally finished the air hockey game. It was tied for a while, however, there must always be one winner. At an overall score of 10-11, I lost the air hockey game by a rapid hard shot as the puck banked off the side of the table. After the final score, I shook her hand as to congratulate her, and she couldn't help but laugh.
What?
I asked curiously with a chuckle.
You just seem a lot more mature than the average 20-year-old. From your deep truth to your handshake, you're definitely an extraordinary person.
Well, thank you.
I said, surprised and shocked.
You are an extraordinary person, too.
Once she processed my comment, she gazed into my eyes and presented her dazzling smile. While taking in that sight, I began to feel the same loving feeling within my chest that I felt whenever I was around Abby. It was overflowing my body and making me smile profusely at this woman. With just one simple action, I was breaking down again. How was this happening? Why was this happening? I don't even know this woman, and yet my feelings were responsive to her. The only thing I was positive about was that she was a fictional character in my mind. However, she held more importance within that second man's life. Yet, I needed to know the exact importance besides the relationship. So after about 5 games and casual talk, I began a conversation with her.
Hey, can I talk to you about something serious?
Of course, Darla. What's on your mind?
Miss Haynes asked.
Well, I don't want you to get mad, but I did hear about some of the chaos that unfolded on Thanksgiving.
Upon the topic, she immediately snapped to attention and took in a sharp intake of breath.
Abby told you what happened?
I don't think she told me everything.
I quickly stated, throwing my hands up.
I just want to explain what I first know so you understand what I do know.
Okay. I'm listening.
She sighed. So taking in a deep breath, I continued our conversation.
She told me about how family was a sensitive topic for you and how one of Damien's aunts used her as a way to degrade you.
Her facial expression shifted to remorse as her eyes started to fall to the ground.
But you do need to know that Abby feels awful about what happened, and she truly did try to avoid that conversation.
I know.
She said, choking a little on a sob.
The aunt she was talking about was my sister. She likes to use my regrets and drive them through me constantly.
And I understand that completely. I know someone that does that to me, too, within my family.
I said.
But I wanted to make sure you were truly okay.
Yes, Darla, I'm fine. I've dealt with it for a while. It is what it is.
After she said that, her gaze moved to some laughter that was sounding in front of us. So as I followed it, I found Abby and Damien playing some sort of ball drop game. I think the object of the game was to drop the ball in the middle to get the jackpot of tickets. Based on their reactions, she must have gotten it. For the next thing I saw, Damien grabbed her by the waist and spun her around in a circle. More lovey-dovey laughter filled the air, but after she was placed back down, he kissed her passionately for a brief moment. The most rewarding part about watching this scene play out was seeing my protector child so happy. She was glowing with joy from head to toe and was in love with her best friend. Both of them mixed together created an electric connection that even I could feel from staring at them. So knowing all of that, a smile widened upon my face.
Them two work so well together.
Miss Haynes said, changing the topic. Ultimately, I had more to say and more questions to ask, but I felt the need to respect her feelings and her remorse. I didn't want to cause her to cry, especially in public, so I replied to her explaining my feelings.
They are. I kept telling Abby that Damien liked her since I first interacted with him, yet she didn't believe me.
Oh, Damien has liked Abby for forever now, and by the looks of it, he has the love for her that I once had. It's an amazing thing to have, especially at their age.
Yeah, it is. I hope they never let it go.
I said, a little somberly. The only reason why was because I felt the same way. They did have a love that I once had with my wife way back when. Yet I never actually thought about it until now. However, I still couldn't reflect upon it before the lovebird spotted us and came back to hang out for the rest of the time. We stayed together as a group for the last 2 hours of our outing, and Abby got some pretty decent prizes. Not to mention Damien was able to get her a giant teddy bear that was holding a heart. Miss Haynes and I let Abby and Damien spend the tickets as we both didn't find any interest in the prizes. Mostly, I didn't know what to do with it because I was a demon. As for her, she was an adult and didn't see the need for childish gifts. Regardless, the 2 kids collected their winnings and we all had to say our goodbyes for the time being.
Well, I'm sure I can speak for both of us when I say we had a good time today.
Damien said, starting the farewell.
Yes, I did have an amazing time with you 3. It was very lovely to meet you, Darla.
She said, holding her hand out to me. I firmly grabbed it and said,
It was lovely meeting you too.
As I made eye contact a final time, I felt that strange warm feeling again from just looking at her. I wish I could say it was my firepower about to act up again, but I knew it wasn't. It was that feeling of love that filled my body once more without me knowing why. Unless it was my body feeling sympathetic for her situation. She was raising a child by herself, or the fact that she had a sister that kept reminding her of her troubles. I just wish I could tell her that my troubles were worse than hers. She wasn't living the crazy-filled demon life and lost her family forever. She didn't have to deal with Satan and his dastardly tricks while trying to protect a young adult. However, the fact was that I couldn't do anything to relieve her problems. She wouldn't believe me, so I kept smiling, trying to hide my true feelings.
Oh, and Abby, of course, it was nice to see you as well.
And she embraced Damien's girlfriend with a hug.
It was wonderful to see you again too, Darla. We'll plan a day soon to catch up again.
Damien said to me while stepping closer. I assumed he wanted a hug as well, so I extended my arms out and hugged him back. And after all the goodbyes were said, we parted ways to head back to our homes and relax for the rest of the night.
This has been Chapter 10, Familiar Face, from the book The Forbidden Truth. Tune in to the next video for Chapter 11. Thank you for listening.